Imagine this. A woman rises at 4 in the morning, not because an alarm woke her, but because love woke her. She stands over an ironing board in the dark, pressing her husband's shirts with the same care she has given every single morning for 11 years. She has 3 children. She gave up a bank career because he asked her to. She cooks his mother's recipes from memory. She has never once raised her voice at him. And on a Tuesday morning, a regular Tuesday, with rain on the zinc roof and plantain frying on the stove, he slides a piece of paper across the table, an eviction notice from her own husband. He has found someone younger, someone with hotel room videos and long nails, someone who has never ironed a single shirt in her life. Now here is what nobody in that story knew, what even Boma herself had almost forgotten. While her husband was on his phone with another woman, Boma was quietly building something in the dark, something that would one day make everything he thought he had taken from her look very, very small. Stay right here, because this story does not end where you think it ends, and the lesson it carries will change the way you see every season of silence you have ever lived through. Welcome to Karachi Tales Stories, where we give voice to the stories that deserve to be told. If you are new here, subscribe right now and turn on your notifications. We drop stories every single week that will move you, rebuild you, and remind you that nothing growing in the dark is wasted. Let's begin. In the city of Port Harcourt, where the creeks run dark with oil beneath skies that shift between burning sun and sudden rain, where the streets carry the smell of pepper soup and diesel and ambition all at once, people learn very early that this city will test you. It will test your patience, your dignity, your willingness to keep standing when everything around you is telling you to sit down and accept what has been given to you. Boma Okafor had been tested by this city for 11 years. She had been awake since 4 in the morning, ironing her husband's shirts before he woke up. That was her life, rising before the sun, sleeping after everyone else, pouring herself empty so that others could be full. 11 years of marriage to Boma Okafor, a man she had loved from the very first day she saw him at a bus stop on Rumuokoro Road, drenched in sweat, laughing at his own joke. She had been 22 then. Now she was 33, with 3 children, a body that carried the evidence of each pregnancy, and a heart that had learned to love quietly, without noise, without complaint. Their children, Tony, 8 years old, Little Prey, 6, and baby Ife Oma, barely 2, was still sleeping when Boma set the table for breakfast. She had fried plantain, boiled eggs, and made akara from scratch because Ebuka had said last week that he missed his mother's akara. She wanted to give him what his mother gave him. That was the kind of wife she was. She heard him before she saw him, the heavy footsteps, the deliberate clearing of throat. Ebuka walked into the kitchen and barely looked at the table she had set. He poured himself tea without a word. "Good morning," Boma said. He replied. This had been the texture of their mornings for the past 6 months. Short words, avoidance. A wall between them that neither acknowledged but both could feel pressing against their chests every single day. The signs had started 3 months earlier. Not a name, just a ringtone that changed, a different lock screen password, a new habit of laughing at something on his phone and turning the screen away when she walked into the room. Her name, Boma would later learn, was Sandra Williams, 24 years old, fresh from the University of Port Harcourt, with a degree she had not used and a life she was spending in other people's hotel rooms, posting videos and calling it soft life. The kind of woman who wore nails so long she could barely hold a broom and called that standards. It was Dumebi who told Boma. Dumebi, her closest friend since secondary school, who had seen them together at Polo Club on a Friday evening. Ebuka's hand resting on Sandra's waist like it belonged there. Dumebi had called that same night, her voice careful and slow, the way voices become when they are carrying something that will hurt the person on the other end. Boma had sat down before Dumebi finished the first sentence. She already knew, the way women always know before they know. When she confronted Chukwu Ebuka that night, he did not shout, he did not deny. He sat in the plastic chair in their sitting room with the calm of a man who had rehearsed his lines and said, "Boma, I have been meaning to talk to you." "Talk to me," she said. Her hands were folded in her lap. She would not cry. "Not yet." "You have become too local," he said. "You are not the kind of woman a man like me should be seen with anymore. You have let yourself go. Every day, wrapper and slippers. No ambition, no style. Sandra is different. She understands the life I am building." The silence that followed was so heavy it pressed against the walls of the room. "Chukwu Ebuka," Boma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I gave up my job at the bank to raise our children. You asked me to. You said they needed me at home. That is not what I am talking about. I gave you 3 children. Sandra is carrying my child too." The words landed like a fist. She did not fall. She sat very still, the way strong things sit still right before they break. The eviction notice came on a Tuesday, not from a landlord, from her own husband. 2 weeks to pack her things and leave the apartment in Rumola. Divorce papers already drafted. Sandra would be moving in. The children could stay. Under his new arrangement, he said, properly cared for. Boma stood in the sitting room with the paper in her hand and looked around at 11 years of her life. The curtains she had sewn herself, the children's drawings still taped to the wall, the wedding photograph on the shelf. Her smiling so wide, her eyes had completely disappeared. She had expected herself to beg. She had expected her knees to give way and her hands to reach for him. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was something different entirely. "God is watching you," she said. That was all. She folded the paper carefully and placed it in the pocket of her dress. She moved into a single room in Rumuokoro with the children. Dumebi carried boxes. Her mother came from Yenagoa and wept so loudly the neighbors opened their doors to look. Boma held her mother and said, "Mama, stop, we are not dead." The room was small. The children slept on a mattress on the floor. Boma slept on the edge of it so that the baby would not fall in the night. She found work at a pharmacy near the market, counting pills, writing receipts, making just enough to keep them fed. It was not the life she had built, but it was hers, and nothing in it had been handed to her by a man who could take it back. What Chukwu Ebuka did not know, what he had been far too distracted to notice across 2 full years of their marriage, was that Boma had been building something quietly in the hours he never saw. While he slept, she read. While he laughed at his phone in the next room, she was submitting assignments. She had been completing an online program in pharmaceutical management, one late night module at a time, on a phone screen, while baby slept against her side. She had mentioned it to him once, just once. He had looked up from his own phone and said, "What for? Are you not fine here at home?" She had said nothing. She had closed the screen and waited for him to look away. Then she had opened it again and continued. 3 months after the eviction, a large pharmaceutical company with offices on Aba Road began searching for a branch coordinator. The position was never publicly posted. It moved through quiet referrals only. The pharmacist who employed Boma had been watching her for months. He had seen how she never made an error. He had seen how she remembered every customer's prescription history without consulting a single file. He picked up his phone and made a call on her behalf. She went to the interview in the one good dress she had kept from her previous life, pressed the night before with Dumebi's iron. She sat before a panel of 4 people and answered every question with a steadiness that she did not plan. It simply came, the way things come when a person has nothing left to lose and everything left to prove. 2 weeks later, the offer letter arrived. The salary was 4 times what Chukwuebuka earned. She read it 3 times. Then she walked into the bathroom, turned the tap on full so the children in the next room would hear nothing, and she wept. Not from sadness, from something she did not yet have a word for. Something that felt like a door opening that she had been pressing against for years. Something that felt like resurrection. By the time Chukwuebuka's life began its quiet unraveling, Boma had already moved into a 2-bedroom flat in GRA Phase 2. The children had new school uniforms. Tony's fees were fully paid. Little Prey was learning to read. Baby Ifeoma laughed through entire mornings. Sandra had not come to build a home. Sandra had come to spend. Within 8 months, Chukwuebuka's savings were gone. A car, an apartment renovation, a business that lived only on an Instagram page. When the money ran dry, her attention relocated. She left in December for a man in Abuja who drove a larger car and kept a thicker wallet. She left without collecting her things. She simply stopped returning. Chukwuebuka sat in the apartment in Rumuokoro, surrounded by furniture he could no longer afford, with an unplanned baby whose mother had vanished, and felt the full weight of every decision he had made land on him all at once. His mother called every day. His brothers had gone quiet. The apartment that had once carried the smell of Boma's cooking from room to room was cold now and completely still. He called Dumebi first. She told him calmly that he had made his bed and she hoped he found the mattress comfortable. He called his pastor, and then finally he called Boma. She picked up on the third ring. Boma. His voice cracked on the single syllable of her name. Chukwuebuka. As did not. I have made a terrible mistake. The silence stretched long enough that he pressed the phone harder against his ear to confirm she was still there. I know, she said quietly. I have been watching you make it for a long time. I want to come home. And here is where the story finds its real heart. Because Boma, who had ironed his shirts before sunrise and cooked his mother's akara from memory and completed an entire degree in silence, because he had made her feel that her ambition was an inconvenience, said the words she had never planned and had not rehearsed. There is no home to come back to. Chukwuebuka, I built a new one. For me and my children, you are welcome to be their father. But I am no longer your wife. I stopped being her the day you handed me that paper and replaced me with a woman who has already left you. She gave him a moment. Take care of that baby Sandra left behind. That child did not choose to come into this world the way she did. Be a father to her. That is the most useful thing you can do now. She ended the call. Today, Boma drives a silver Toyota Corolla to work. Her children ride to school with straight backs and neat uniforms. On quiet evenings, she sits on the balcony of her GRA flat and watches the lights of Port Harcourt spread out across the waterfront, and she feels something she had almost forgotten how to feel. Peace. Chukwuebuka still drives, but slower now. He collects the children every other weekend and returns them before dark because that is what the arrangement requires. He has learned to cook noodles for Sandra's baby girl, the one he named Adas, because there is nobody else left to do it. He has learned, too late, exactly what he had, and that is the lesson this story delivers, wrapped in the rain of Port Harcourt and written in the long silence of a woman who chose herself when the person who had promised to choose her had stopped. A good woman is not furniture. She does not remain beautiful through neglect. She does not stay quiet for the rest of her life. She was growing the entire time you were looking elsewhere. And when you finally turned back around, she had already become someone you no longer had the standing to reach. What you just sat with, A woman sleeping on the edge of a mattress so her baby would not fall, pressing a borrowed iron over her one remaining good dress, walking into a job interview with nothing left to lose and everything she had quietly built waiting inside her. That is not the story of a special woman. That is the story of what becomes possible when any person refuses to let betrayal write the final chapter of their life. Boma did not rise because the world suddenly became fair to her. She rose because she had been preparing in secret for a moment she did not even know was coming. She studied when nobody was watching. She built when nobody believed she was building. And when the moment arrived, she was ready. Not because she had planned for it, but because she had never stopped growing even when everything around her said there was no point. Here is the question I want you to carry out of this video today. What are you building quietly right now that the people who have underestimated you have not yet seen? Because your silent season is not a sign that nothing is happening. It is a sign that something is being prepared in you that is not yet ready to be seen. And when it is ready, when your moment arrives, it will not look like luck to the people watching. It will look exactly like what it is. The harvest of years of private faithfulness. Comment below in the comments right now if this story reached somewhere real inside you. And if someone in your life is in the middle of their own Rumuokoro season, sleeping on the edge of something, holding everyone else together, quietly pressing forward when the world has gone cold on them, share this video. It may be the one thing that reminds them tonight that this is not their ending. Like this video. Subscribe to Karachi Tales Stories and ring that notification bell, because every week on this channel we bring you exactly this kind of story. Stories of real people, real pain, and the real and remarkable things that happen when human beings refuse to be defeated by the worst that life hands them. Your subscription is what keeps these stories alive and reaching the people who need them most. This week, one action. Find the thing you stopped building because someone made you feel it was not worth your time. The course, the plan, the version of yourself you quietly folded away and put in a drawer. Take it out, look at it, and then take one step toward it. Just one. Boma finished her entire qualification one late night assignment at a time while a baby slept beside her on a mattress on the floor. You do not need perfect conditions.